Hello, welcome to Drink Order. My name is Bob Peters and I'm here with my very good friend, Miss Colleen Hughes. We are at Haberdish Restaurant and thank you so much for having us here. Thank you.
Man, it's my pleasure. It's always nice to see you anyway.
It's good to see you. Okay, well, in Drink Order we always start off with a shot, so I think it's time to have our shot.
Cheers.
Cheers, thank you. Cheers.
Little Casamigos.
Little Casamigos. Tequila good. Mm-hmm. Woo! All right, so how did you get your start in bartending and craft cocktails?
Bartending itself is a relatively short story, especially I think compared to somebody like you. I sort of worked my way up. I was a server for a long time and kind of was interested in the bar, interested in flavors. I've always been a bit of a home cook and I like playing with flavors and things. Moved on to the bar probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
Now, where was the first bar?
It was a little random place called Terrace Cafe down in South Park. And it really wasn't doing much. I was a barista. I'd worked in coffee for years before that. And so I got hired there to barista because they have a big coffee program.
Sure.
And they also had a bar. And so that was the first time I really got a chance to be behind the bar. Before that, I had worked in a lot of fine dining, so I had a lot of understanding of wine and beer and stuff like that, but that was the first time that I was like behind a coffee bar that also had liquor.
So how did you make that jump from from being like a barista with all coffee to then getting into the booze world?
I kind of just lucked out. They were opening growlers in Noda. Mm-hmm. I had been going to Crepe Cellar for a long time, and I knew the managers there. And the one thing that really drew me to wanting to work for the same group as Crepe Cellar was the fact that they had things at Crepe Cellar that I like to drink. And most of the bars in Noda, not to say that they don't have, good things, but the things that I get drawn into a restaurant for, especially at the time, were a nice glass of red wine or I'm a big Sambuca drinker, so they were like the only bar in Noda that had Sambuca, and to me, on a cold winter night, a nice neat shot of Sambuca is like perfect. And so I used to go there all the time because they had that, and then I knew they were opening growlers. I had had a decent amount of experience working in craft beer bars before. I knew they were going to be a craft beer bar. And so I just kind of put my name in the hat and got lucky enough to get hired for there.
Got the nod?
Yeah, and that was the first time I moved from being a person who did other things but also bartended to just being a bartender.
And focusing all your attention behind the bar?
And and conveniently enough, my first real day working for this company was the day Growlers opened, and I was just kind of like a deer in headlights, like, I know how to do stuff. It was a big shift coming over from Crepe Cellar where they had that softer booster ice to here. I was like, oh man, I really got to shake these strings. The ice isn't doing the work for me.
One of the things that I think is so interesting is your very unique perspective on cocktails. And I think, now correct me if I'm wrong though, that everything has just like a touch, like that beautiful feminine touch.
For me, aesthetically, that is very important for a lot of reasons. One, I like pretty things.
Sure.
I am a lady. And I think that that have those little touches really does make it more meaningful. I think that it makes it more accessible for other women to come in and drink there, where they might know that they want a cocktail but they're kind of intimidated, they don't understand what they are, but they're presented in such a with such a sense of whimsy, with such a sense of playfulness. I think even more than femininity, it's just being playful.
Sure.
That they feel more open to experiment.
Right.
Because they're seeing these, drinks with flowers, and if it's got a flower on it, it can't be that bad. Like, it can't be that strong. It can't, the words you try to steer away from, like strong, weak, girly,
Right.
but at the same time, you can have a drink that's 100% spirit being served on an ice cube that's a ball with a giant flower in the middle.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that completely spirit-forward cocktail.
So you think it makes it more accessible?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it makes it quite a bit more accessible.
Well, you have made 3 beautiful drinks for us here, and let's talk about the first one, and we have to talk about this one first. I'm not sure if you guys can see this exactly, but this is beautiful. Obviously, it's an egg white cocktail with a beautiful design of a hummingbird getting ready to eat out of a flower, and that is just stunning.
Yeah, I love that.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, the drink itself is pretty much a sour. It's a
Oh God, it's delicious.
thank you. It's whiskey, pamplemousse, which we bring in special order, but at other places I think they're pretty familiar with pamplemousse. It's a really beautiful grapefruit liqueur. And
I
then,
can taste that now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of simple syrup, egg white obviously, and just started rubber stamping wafer paper and sort of playing around with that medium, but using, of course, everything in it is edible, though I don't know how delicious it is. It is definitely edible,
Well, it's extremely, extremely beautiful, and that
Yeah.
is it is delicious too. So let's talk about the rest of the group that you work with.
Yeah, so we had the fun opportunity last year to open 2 concepts.
2 in how long of a time period was it?
Sea Level opened in February and Haberdish opened in December.
Yikes.
I will say this, they had...
No, that had to been a great experience.
Oh,
That had to been great.
It was great. It was also exhausting. But I basically got on both knees and was like, 2017, let's not open a restaurant. Like, could I have a year, please? Well, it was fine because both of those restaurants had been R&D conceptually Haberdish because we knew it was going to be our cocktail bar in the row. Because if you figure all our bars in the row, Growlers is our beer bar,
Right.
Crepe Cellar's our wine bar,
Right.
and Haberdish is our cocktail bar, and they all have elements of the other
Sure.
ones. But we knew this was going to be our cocktail bar, and we knew we wanted to show up strong. So I'd been R&Ding Haberdish for a year and a half,
Right.
maybe plus. Sea Level, I'd probably been R&Ding for 5 or 6 months before it actually opened, just developing concept and stuff like that. So Sea Level was a lot of fun. It was very different. It was, for me, a big learning curve because inside of the Beltway is a whole nother world as far as like drinks. I can sell a highly conceptual $18 to $20 cocktail at Haberdish or Crepe Cellar, really,
Sure.
without any major problem. It's probably not going to be my number 1, but it's going to be
Right.
moving. I opened Sea Level, which is uptown, so you would think people would be so much more willing to spend more money because
Right.
they spend so much more money on wine and those
Right.
sorts of things. And I couldn't move an $18 cocktail.
Right.
And it really was like, oh, we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to reassess
Reel it in a little bit.
reassess our
Right.
clientele, and the more highly conceptual drinks weren't moving at all. And I was like, okay, it's not that I need to dumb it down, but I need to be more cognizant of the working people of Uptown and what they're looking for. And what they're looking for, I find, is a lot more, less conceptual, more of that pre-prohibition familiar style of drink.
Okay, so let's talk about one of these other drinks right here. I'm starting to get thirsty again. What is this one? What do we got here?
This is going to come out with our fall menu. It's kind of a fun little guy. It started out as a play on Vesper, and so what I did was I kind of removed the vodka from the Vesper
It's delicious.
and filled it back in with sloe gin. So it is Sipsmith VJOP, the very juniper overproof, Sipsmith sloe gin, which has got a beautiful red color, and then I took Lillet Rouge and washed it with beeswax.
Oh, wow.
So it's got that little bit higher viscosity, and you get a little bit of that kind of honey waxiness on the back end, just to give it another layer, and honestly, just to kind of play with the texture of the drink
Sure.
itself, but in a fairly unobtrusive way. So
No, I get that.
just
That's great.
a really nice 3-ingredient cocktail. It's spirit forward, but it doesn't come off as being super spirit forward.
Right.
And I just love that little something that the beeswax wash adds.
Right, that's neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more cocktail left. What do we have over here? What is that?
This little beauty is one of my favorites is definitely the hardest to get on the list because the state of North Carolina did not understand it and rejected my recipe over and over and over again. Thank you, North Carolina. But I got it. I finally got it. But it is a clarified barbecue apple milk punch.
Oh, wow.
So it's a clarified milk punch. And actually, since it's been sitting here, you're going to drink it at just the right temperature because it's really better at 50, but we obviously have to store it at 38.
Sure.
So it is a combination of gin, mezcal, apple brandy, lemon juice, milk. I'm missing another important ingredient, but it's okay because that's a secret. That's my secret ingredient.
That's fair. That's fair.
And then we clarify it using milk to get that creaminess, so all the solids get removed, but the creaminess of the milk really remains.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And this was one of the first drinks that I knew for. Thank you. I love that drink.
It's so delicious.
I might drink right behind
Yeah,
you.
get some.
I love that drink.
So good.
This was one of the first drinks I knew for certain through R&D was going to be on our menu. And it didn't actually appear on our menu till about 3.5 months after we opened.
Right.
Because my recipe kept getting rejected.
Okay, so explain that to us.
Yeah.
Explain that process.
Well, so we live in the great state of North Carolina,
Certainly.
which is a highly alcohol-controlled state. Probably
Yes.
one of the most strict alcohol-controlled states, maybe second to Utah.
Right.
When I've talked to other bartenders about, the things you have to go through. Anytime you batch a cocktail, like we have a lot of draft cocktails, anytime you batch a cocktail where you've pre-combined all the ingredients and then you're going to sell this pre-combined thing that's not getting poured out of the individual bottles, therefore the stamps are removed.
Right.
You have to turn your recipe in to the state, usually wait a few weeks, and then you're able to sell that drink. And you're really not even supposed to be developing these drinks until you have your license.
Right.
But how do you develop a drink and then send in your recipe? And then this is why I do all my R&D at home.
Sure, exactly. That's the benefit.
It skips the middleman. But yeah, so I sent it in, and I don't know if it was the clarification part or it was the methodology and how we were serving it and storing it. I think first they rejected it because they didn't understand holding milk in a vessel for more than a few weeks because in their mind, milk goes bad. But once you've clarified it through alcohol, this product's good for about a year.
Right.
And then the second part of it was we were initially going to serve it in these little bottles that were, the flip lock bottles,
Right.
not capped.
Sure.
And then somebody was going to, because it really should be served at about 50 degrees, and we wanted to be able to have a way of serving this drink, not immediate in the glass cold, so serving it in the bottle on the side and saying, hey, wait 15 minutes
Right.
before you drink it. But they came back and said, no, that's bottling. You can't do that.
Really?
Yeah, that was 7 weeks to get that response. So then we came back again and said, okay, we will serve it by the glass. This is because you have to even tell them how you're going to hold it, what
Right.
size bottle you're going to hold it. So we're going to hold it in this size bottle. We're going to pour this amount, blah, 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 send it back in. A few weeks later, they said, okay. So it really was a multi-month process of
Right.
just getting approval on this one drink, but I was so passionate about it. It pairs so perfectly with our food. That little bit of mezcal-y smoke really kind of sets off the southern food.
Right.
And that I really wanted to have it, and so it was worth the extra effort.
Colleen, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Bob.
you so much
Such
for
a
having
pleasure.
me here, and I really look forward to seeing everything that you do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and cheers to that.
Cheers.
I love this milk punch. It might be my favorite. It's like
Yeah, I
picking
want some-
children,
can I
but
have some more of that?
I just love it.
It's good. Where's the barbecue coming from?
It's the mezcal,
But it
So-
tastes almost like a barbecue sauce.
right? And I'm a vegetarian.
It's like beautiful.
I do like barbecue sauce.
It's so good.
But yeah, that like mezcal and apple thing just pulls it together, and the gin's
Maybe it's the apple.
Doc Porter's gin too, got that cardamom hit to it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I just love that.
It's awesome.
Every time I think about redoing a menu, I'm like, should I pull that drink? And then I'm like, nope.
You gotta have your babies.
Not gonna do it. Love that drink too much. So, yeah.
you.